The band you just heard is called Laney Lou and the Bird Dogs. We have Laney and Matt here. They don't exactly have a lead singer per se, so you're going to hear them take turns throughout the show. The track you just heard is called Ball and Chain. So why don't you guys tell me about trying to live as true individuals?
Well, Matt wrote that song, so yeah, maybe he can speak a little bit to that since it is sort of an anthem.
Yeah,
so.
But yeah, you nailed it on the head. The song's generally about kind of doing your own thing, being your own man, so to speak, and not conforming to kind of just sort of society's sort of general rules, I suppose. Yeah, I'm not I can't exactly remember the spot I was when I wrote that, but it seems a little angsty, but yeah, that's kind of the general gist of the song.
I think as musicians also, we just tend to lead a life that's a little bit outside the norm, and so it definitely speaks to our lifestyle specifically. But certainly works for a lot of different people in this world right now.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are a Montana band, which quite a ways away from my world on the very crowded East Coast right outside of New York City. Are there a lot of people up in Big Sky Country rejecting Balls and Chains?
No, I'm born and raised in Montana, and kind of I would say I'd say like a true Montanan is kind of one who doesn't really kind of go by the rules, so to speak, kind of like an outlaw attitude. But yeah, I wouldn't say there's a lot of people against it. I think it's I think people out here take it at face value for what it's worth. So
yeah, there's definitely people here living by the book, but also something that attracts people to Montana is that it's more open, and you can kind of like make your own rules out here if you want to. There's always exceptions to the rule, but I think we are all attracted to living here because we kind of go against the grain a little bit.
The Wild West still exists.
It does still exist. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
It's full.
So what do you mean by the Wild West still exists? Like, what type of things go on?
I mean, like, you say the wrong thing to somebody, you're going to get punched in the mouth, It's kind of like just kind of old school rules out here. It's not like, I mean, I wouldn't, not necessarily like, I don't know. It's just a little more old school out here, I'd say.
Yeah, there's a saying, we live in Bozeman, Montana, which is definitely becoming more of a discovered spot, but the saying goes that you can drive 15 minutes and find Montana from Bozeman. So you can drive 15 minutes in any direction and you're pretty much in the mountains. You're in rural Montana very quickly. And I think that's what we mean too, is just you can find real people real fast in rural towns that are living sort of lives that are much more like they used to be, just small towns, never leave them, and
kind of not dependent on social media or television or like what the newest fads are. People just kind of do their own thing out here, and it's like if you don't think it's cool, then whatever,
move on.
Move on, yeah.
But yeah.
The next song I'm gonna play is called Reeling. You talk about swimming in an ocean with a million holes. Take me to your mindset when you saw the world basically break.
Oof. I try not to tell people quite like exactly what that song is about to me, but the mindset that I was in when I wrote it can definitely, give you a hint to where I was, which it was June 2020 when I wrote it, and we had lost our jobs. Everybody had lost their jobs. The pandemic was becoming politicized, which was frustrating. George Floyd had just been murdered. There were riots going on. There was a lot of unrest, and that's where that song came from. I was just seeing a lot of flaws and feeling pretty helpless. And the song came out as just one that was full emotion and not really giving any sort of solution to the problem, just kind of feeling that angst and sadness about the state of our world.
Yeah, Matt, what were you feeling in June of 2020? I know I was, really, really not leaving the house, just sort of watching the news way too often.
Oh yeah, I mean, same thing. It was kind of like I kind of find myself like taking a day by day approach. Like nobody knew when this was going to end or like what was happening next, or like, it was like a constant checking of like the numbers on COVID, and like, it was for most of the time I just felt lost, and like, just like, when's this gonna be over? When can everything get back to normal? Yeah, that's, but to talk about Laney's song like that was, when we first put it together, it kind of just sort of encapsulated everything that we were feeling at that time, and, it was just kind of very poetic and perfect, so.
Yeah, that was a scary time. Do things feel normal up there again? I'm sure it got normal a little quicker than it did on the East Coast. Just, given that you're naturally socially distanced up there.
Yeah. Yeah. Montana was, I think we were the very first state to shut down. If we weren't the first, we were like,
shut down?
Like to shut everything down. Like, if we weren't the first, we were definitely like in the top three, or like one of the first two or three to do it. So we kind of like, in addition to that, there's barely 1 million people here. So things kind of went back to fairly normal fairly quickly here. Like, not quickly as in like 8-9 months, but as we stand today, it's pretty.
Yeah, in Montana, we're doing all right. I think like we were really fortunate to play shows again starting in May 2021. And most of them, were outdoor venues. We were playing a lot of festivals. We definitely hung around our home state this year and did a little bit of traveling. But I would say that as winter has come on, we're still noticing the effects of the pandemic, because it really limits the places we can play. A lot of venues have not reopened because they're worried about indoor concerts, and we definitely noticed on the West Coast when we went on a tour that numbers were a little bit lower for shows. A couple shows got canceled 2 weeks before we left on tour. And so it's, normal. I don't think we're not there yet, that's for sure, even being in Montana, but we are lucky to be in a less populated state as far as shows here goes.
Well, things aren't quite normal, but I am happy to say, that reeling that we're going to hear now is, we're a few months out from that. That is something.